The year is 1974 of the Third Age. The Witch King sits upon the throne of Arnor, having driven its armies back into Lindon. The last king, Arvedui, lies at the bottom of the sea after being sundered by a harsh storm. However, all is not lost as Gondor finally sends an army so large that it fills all the ports of Lindon. A joint force of Lindon, Gondor, Arnor, and even hobbits march upon Fornost, the largest alliance of men and elves since the end of the Second Age. The Witch King in his arrogance leaves the safety of Fornost and meets the elves and men on the plains before the hills of Everdom. The fighting is brutal, but the Witch King is outmatched. His army is completely destroyed by an unexpected flank attack by Gondorian cavalry. Prince Arnor pursues the Witch King as he flees back to Angmar. The Witch King is overtaken and he and Eärnur fight in single combat on the outskirts of Carn Dûn. However, Eärnur's horse is panicked by the Witch King and he falls. But before he can be slain, Glorfindel arrives from Rivendell with a host of elves and the Witch King has to flee before his might. Do not pursue him, he will not return to this land. Far off yet is his doom, and not by the hand of man will he fall. Right guys, in this one we're going to be painting up some of the Conquest Creation Kingdom of Azragor terrain. We're going to be speed painting it as fast as we can because I'm joined by...
Do you want me to say my name? Rab from Rabtastic Paints?
I don't say your name. I don't want anyone going to your channel. We are going to get painting up as fast as we can and then doing a bat rep set in the fall of Arnor, the very final battle. Because the new supplement, we all know the new supplement's Arnor, and I hope there's some new legendary legions like Gondor and Rivendell, Gondor and Lindon. Yeah.
Never historically.
Yeah, they never historically fought together. Games Workshop. Waffling on as I usually do, so basically I'm just gonna, we've only got 2 or 3 wee bits because Rab is shite at using
FD and Britain
yeah.
left to
So we've only got a couple of bits and my resin printer is tiny, so sadly can't fit any of the buildings in my resin printer. Maybe I could have done a wee bit of the scatter.
Could be the most expensive building.
It would be very expensive. And resin terrain can explode because it doesn't cure in the middle. Yeah. So yeah, already off to a great start. And as I said, I'm waffling on, so let's get cracking. Woo! Actually, the rain's up. No, it's not. Of course, it's not. Right, so we're going with a wee Mechanicus Standard Grey. What's the price tag on that again? 514 fucking. Jesus. Get yourself Colour Force, that's the way it's at.
3 for 30 from Vlad.
Sponsor me, fucking Colour Force.
3 for 30 from Vlad.
And here we go. We have given it a little coat already, but we haven't gone over everything. Just wanted to get a little bit of a first layer done, so this will be the second layer of Mechanicus. This time we can get into all the nooks and crannies, because I like to give it 2 coats, because the first coat you kind of see the bits that you miss. When you see the bits that you miss, you can easily go in and touch them up.
If you pardon the pun.
That's it. There we go. Just gonna put that here, leave it to dry. Then it'll be on to the next step. So we got our big old building here. Look at that. Isn't that fantastic? What's this one called again? Orc House. Looks awesome, man. So cool. Loads of cool wee details on it. So we're gonna get this painted up. Oh, is it inside? Oh, fantastic.
I've got the Orc Jail.
You going to jail, mate? A weekender. Cool. So first thing I'm going to do is just an all over dry brush of white and maybe add in a bit of Mechanicus just to lighten up all the bricks and stuff. I want to get all the stonework done first and then we can start on the details. Let's go. So guys, we've got our lovely Conquest Creations building here. It's got its base coat done. I am taking tips from my previous video, and because it's going to be mainly grey, I am going to start with a grey base coat. This will save a huge amount of time blocking in all the grey. All I'm doing now is I'm adding in Mechanicus Standard Grey to white and getting progressively lighter with my dry brushes, both in terms of the colour by adding white and by how heavy I am applying the dry brush to the model. Once we're on to pure white, I really am giving it just a light touch over the most pronounced corners and details. It does look quite bright at the moment, but remember we are going to be giving this a big old wash. Ideally, I'd really like to give this an oil wash, but as we are pressed for time and filming the battle report for Rab's channel in about 20 minutes, we are going to be going with a homemade wash, which I'll get to later on. Once the dry brushing is complete, we're going to block in the rest of the other details, so I'm going to go and get some lead belcher here. Just going to block in all the metal details around the building. You can see some of the supports are still attached to the piece. I thought this was just part of the model, but it turns out Rab was an absolute melt and didn't pick them all off. But don't worry, I'm going to show you how to cover them up later. Again, this will be darkened down with a wash, and I'm going to be applying quite a bit of rust effects to this later on. I'm a big fan of these big spiky bits that are being fused into the chimney. I can just imagine when this is all rusted up, they are going to look really good. Next up, an old favourite, Rhinox hide. Just going to be blanketing on. We're just going to be blanketing all the different details that are going to be different shades of brown and bone over the rest of this miniature. This includes these big wooden posts and of course the kind of blanket and the ropes on the top. Now there are a couple of wee skulls on this. I'm just going to block them in with some flayed one flesh. Nothing too complicated about that. Then I want this kind of tarp across the top to be a different colour, so I'm getting some steel legion here and I'm going to dry brush that. It was after this I realised I made a mistake and gone over the ropes as well, so I did block them back in with Rhinox hide. It's okay to make mistakes, guys. We all do it. We all do it. Don't be afraid to go back and fix any silly mistakes that you make. Now that all the details have been blocked in their base colours, it's time to get ready for a wash. So we're just going to give the model a big old wash to make it nice and dark. So all we got here is black paint, a little bit of soap or dishwasher fluid, and then the rest is just water. So I'm just going to slap that on because I purposely made it really light so that the wash would bring it back down. It looks a bit shite just now, but once it dries, it should look nice and dandy. So unfortunately we ran out of time. I wasn't able to get it fully finished before the battle report. If you want to watch the battle report, it is on Rab's channel now. I'll put a wee link at the end of the description. Personally, I think the next supplement might be Arnor. I'm assuming they've had to shelve the last Alliance update that they were going to release. So the reason I'm thinking Arnor is it would allow them to release all the plastic kits for the elves that were made as Elves of London or Elves of Rivendell rather than Last Alliance. Apart from Gil-galad, pretty much all the heroes are still alive. Numenorians could also be repurposed into Arnorians or this new Gondor force. And, you know, orcs. Orcs is orcs, mate. You could use orcs for anything, so that's why I think it might be Arnor. I'd love to see some legendary legions around the elves and the men. There's so much in the Fall of Arnor. There's like earlier periods where Lothlorien are involved as well, so we could finally get that Lothlorien legion that we want. Even Angmar kind of deserves its own legendary legion, maybe with some extra special spooky boys. And you know, I'm always happy for more different orc poses, so let's hope they come to fruition as well. I'm probably completely wrong, but that's just my 2 cents. Let's see if it comes to life, eh? Right, now that Rab has fucked off and I've got a bit more time, I'm going to give this another wash. I think it's too bright. I don't think the last wash was dark enough, so I'm going to use a bit more paint to water ratio. I definitely didn't do enough, so I'm going to do that. And once that's settled, we'll be doing the finishing touches, and then we're good to go. So I'm not just going to do black this time. I've actually decided to do a bit of jobby brown as well. I think orcs are all manky and shit, so you need a bit of brown in there, don't you? And once that's done, we'll just do a bit of dry brushing. as you can see here, the wash is dried and I've done the dry brushing to highlight everything up. I didn't want to bore you with the dry brushing stuff because it would be pretty boring to watch me dry brushing again. So to add some little extra finishing touches to this, you can see there's bits here of the mould lines where Rab has been a complete pie and left them on the model. I'm just going to show you how to cover these up nice and simple. All we do is absolutely cake them in PVA glue. Then I've got this mix of different colours of foam flock, say that 10 times fast. And once the PVA glue is absolutely caked on, we press this into the position where we want the nice, looks like nice vegetation, vines growing. You could start with a darker colour and build your way up, but I think this looks good enough as it is and helps to hide those pesky FDM print lines. To get the rust effect on the metal, I added some of this dirty down rust stuff. It gives a great effect, I highly recommend it. And I also really want to get myself some of the dirty down moss. I've seen great results with that, so I'm looking to get a bottle of that soon. I also applied some of the orange weathering powder to the spiky bits at the top to make them all much more rusted, and then dry brushed them with a Stormhost silver, but I forgot to film that part, I do apologise. And last but not least, I want to make it a bit more dirty around the bottom, like it's been worn in. And I'm going to get some of this really nice light brown weathering powder I've got that looks like dried mud, sort of like dried dust, and I'm going to apply this all over the bottom of the model, up some of the walls, maybe a bit on the roof, here and there, all over the model. And with that, the piece is done. This took hardly any time at all. I absolutely love these pieces. I think FDM printing is definitely the way forward for terrain. And a huge thank you to Jacob from Conquest Creations for sending Rab and I these files. The Kickstarter is now live. I will put a link in the description. I highly recommend you go check it out. The detail on these buildings is incredible. They're so simple to paint up in absolutely no time at all. And most importantly, it's extremely playable, which at the end of the day, when we're wargaming, is what we want. The roofs and all the other layers are so simple to remove, making it much easier to inhabit the buildings and put your guys on top of them. They are an absolute dream to game with. The only question I've got is the name. It's supposed to be an abandoned kingdom of men, but yet it's got a dwarvish name. But I suppose that's what happens when you let the community decide on a name. I have got both his previous sets already, and I'm hoping to get a lot more of these when Rab figures out how to use an FDM printer. So do go check them out. And finally, thank you if you made it this far in the video. I love yous all. And of course, a huge thank you to my Patreons. It really means the world to me that you continue to support my shitty little channel. If you wish to join the Patreon and the Patreon Discord, where we have games nights and all that shite, feel free to check out the description below. You can join for as little as £3 a month, which is less than a pint these days, which is horrific to say. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching everyone, don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember to give my bell a good old ring. Wow. So I hope the missus doesn't mind all the jobby stains on the counter here. Ah, well, I usually get jobby stains on the counter, so it's fine. Oh, also, I'm not just going to put brown... Christ, I just dropped it in fucking paint everywhere. The year is 17... Fuck, already fucked it.